everyone, it's Hailey, and today I wanted to talk about the books that I would like to read this September. So as we move from August to September, I start trying to get to a lot of my fall reads. And fall reads for me are it's really the only time of year that I'll kind of reach for more of the mystery sort of thriller reads, because that isn't generally what I enjoy, although there are a few that I have liked. Those that interest me are what is on this TBR, but I save like the major ones for around October. So here I have books that just have a fall vibe. They're a little bit spooky, they're moody, that sort of thing. I find it so hard to describe like why I like reading a certain kind of book at a certain time of year, but I very much do. I am super a mood reader, and fall I think is the season that has like the most distinctive mood for me. As it starts to get a little bit colder, or now since I'm in Montreal, a lot colder, I am going to be kind of going for more fantasies, historical fictions, and obviously kind of the mysterious thriller sort of things. I already feel like I'm in the fall mood because it already is pretty cold here. Like, it's not cold, but it just feels so cool. It feels so much cooler than what I'm used to from where I used to live. But I have this pile of books here that I feel like is a good place to start with what I might be reading. It's definitely not like an extensive list, but it is somewhere to begin. I really don't know how much I'm going to be able to read. I'm hoping that as I'm feeling a little bit better, I might be able to read some more, but I also am going to be moving in September and trying to get settled before my parents are actually going to be visiting in the beginning of October for Thanksgiving. So that being said, I still want to try and make reading a priority again, so I've got some books here that I'm very excited about, and without further ado, let's just get into it. So please excuse my appearance right now. We are in the middle of packing, but I just wanted to pop in here for a second to thank the sponsor for today's video, Babbel. I'm so excited to be partnering with Babbel again because I love this app. As you guys probably know, I recently moved from Ontario to Montreal, which is in the French-speaking region of Canada, and I don't speak French, so Babbel has been really helping me to learn. Also, the packing that I'm for is like a move within Quebec, in case you were a little bit confused there. One of my favorite things about Babbel is the different kinds of learning that it offers. It's not just a straightforward, this is your lesson and everything, although it does have that. There's also a lot of different elements to it. There's short stories that you can read, podcasts that you can listen to, games that you can play, which makes it really fun to continue learning and very easy to. I personally love the word games. They are so much fun to do. I'm a sucker for games like that and could play them forever, and it's really nice to like feel like I'm having fun, but at the same time I'm learning. Babbel does more than just teach you vocabulary as well. It gives you some cultural context for things and will give you some grammar tips as well, so it's really easy to keep track of everything. And it also will encourage you to do reviews, so then you know that that information is really going to stick. Babbel has been making it really easy for me to keep up with my French lessons and learn on the go, and it's been very enjoyable as well. I am surprised by how much fun I've been having, and I feel like I am making some progress. For example, I could order my coffee at Tim Hortons in French now. Un café très grand avec un lait et deux Splenda. I don't like, everyone just says Splenda here instead of sweeteners, so that's what I do. So if you guys were interested in picking up a new language yourself, I definitely recommend it. Babbel makes it so quick and easy, and it's a lot of fun too, and it's a great skill to have. But they have been kind enough to offer 65% off, which brings the subscription total to a little less than $5 per month, which is awesome. So I will have a link down below for you guys to check it out, and thank you once again so much to Babbel for sponsoring today's video. The first book that I have here, I actually am in between reads right now, and I think this might be the next one that I pick up, but that is The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joanne He. This book I think I might pick up next because it feels like the perfect late summer, early fall sort of read, because it gives me those summery sort of vibes because it's set on an abandoned island, and then it gives me fall vibes because it really is kind of a story that I'm like, I have no clue what is going on when I read the synopsis already. So it's about a girl who wakes up on this island and all she has there is a shack. She has this AI that she built to be friends with her, and then she has a memory, and the memory is that she has a sister that she has to go and find. So like, I have so many questions. I have no clue what to make of that synopsis, and I feel like it seems very intriguing. I am just so fascinated by this. Even though I have no clue what I'm really going to be reading, I think that's kind of the point, and I am definitely into that. Next up is The Angel of Greenwood by Randy Pink. This is a historical fiction, and it is one that I have been so excited to read ever since I heard about it. It is set during Black Wall Street, which is when there was just this major attack on Black people in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I don't know if it actually happened in other places. I think it was just Oklahoma. It just is this terrible event. Like, I only actually learned about it last year because there was a book that I read that dealt with it, and it's so horrible that it's not more widely known because it was just a massacre, which is so horrible and needs to be known about. Like, that's an important part of American history. I'm not American, so maybe it is taught in American history or something, but if it isn't, it definitely should be. But I am really looking forward to reading this book and seeing a different perspective on that event. I already was really like touched by the one book that I did read. It was kind of a dual timeline thing where it was present day and then also back in the 20s when that massacre happened, so it was really interesting. But I'm looking forward to reading something that is just set at that time period. I think this could be a very difficult but very powerful read, and I tend to love those sorts of books. Next is The Firekeepers Daughter by Angeline Booley. So I've had this book for a while and I have kind of wanted to read it, but then it's never been the right time for something this intensive and large. So I mean, it's really kind of an average size book, I feel like a lot of people would say, but when it's tall and also like that thick, it very much intimidates me. However, I am really excited about this book. So this is a story with a murder mystery in it where the main character ends up working with, I don't know if it's specifically the FBI, but I think it is, to use her knowledge of traditional Ojibwe medicine and her culture to try and solve these murders that have been happening. So I have lots of questions once again. Like, I don't really know what to make of that, but it just seems super unique and really cool, and I definitely am excited to get more immersed in this world and learn more about this character. She seems to be a character that's kind of struggling with her place in the world, and I would like to learn more about that. Next up is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. So I read, oh, what is it called? Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson last year, and I was just like taken aback by it. That's a book that you read it and you won't soon forget it. So I had such an impression left on me that I pre-ordered her next book. Actually, I think I got this one before I had read that one. I don't know. But the point is, I was just so impacted by her first book that I read that I knew I needed to read more. So this has quickly climbed its way up my TBR, but it is one that I have been waiting for the great time to read it. These stories are more like mysteries, thrillers. It's not like a horror story, I guess. I heard that she wrote thrillers, and when I think about thrillers, I'm thinking like supernatural, but that's really not accurate. So that's not what this is. It is a thriller, but it's not really a domestic thriller, but it's just realistic, if that makes sense. So this main character, she is trying to make it as a musician, and she ends up being the only suspect in a murder case, and it just obviously is a very messy situation. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, her first book was a wild ride, so I'm expecting that this will definitely be more of the same. Also, this cover is stunning, and I love the reflectiveness of the earring. Like, oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Next is The Project by Courtney Summers. So Courtney Summers actually has a few books, but I would say her most successful one to date would be Sadie. Sadie came out a couple years ago now, and it like took BookTube and the Bookternet by storm. Everyone was talking about this book because it just was unlike other books. It was very interesting, and that is one of the mysteries that I've read that I actually really enjoyed. So I pre-ordered her next book, and I've had this one one for a little bit now, and I feel like it's perfect for this time of year. I believe it's going to be a thriller sort of thing once again, but this one, the synopsis does kind of confuse me, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it seems like it's sort of a cult thing where the main character, her sister, I believe, it goes to this cult. I should check on this. So yes, it is sisters. I wasn't sure because I know Sadie's about sisters, but it's the Unity Project, and a tragic accident kills most of Bee's family, and her little sister has been left near death. So she ends up becoming part of this Unity Project, and then Lo awakens from the accident and she discovers that her sister has gone to the Unity Project, and she just is like, this is not a good thing. So it seems to be sort of a cult thing, like lots of mysterious things happening there. I don't really know what to make of it, but I'm definitely interested. Next is another historical fiction, and that is 13 Doorways, Wolves Behind Them All by Laura Ruby. Laura Ruby is the author of Bone Gap, which I have on my TBR. I don't know, do I have it unpacked? I think it is still in a box, which, by the way, I probably do have quite a few reads for the fall time in a box, because all of my brown books and then some of the black ones, like the spines that are brown, are still boxed up. So this TBR might change a little bit, but this book I have been wanting to read for so long and just haven't found the right time for it. It is told in dual timelines. One is during the Great Depression and the other one is earlier. It deals with characters that are both dead and alive, and it's these characters, these sisters, who their father ends up like leaving them and abandoning them, so they're orphaned, and I just feel like this is going to be a very twisted story, but I have heard amazing things about it. So it is a National Book Award finalist, which I tend to really actually enjoy those award winners. It's not like I like intentionally do, I just have noticed that quite a few of the finalists or winners I really have liked. So I hope that this one will be a case of that as well. Next is Agnes at the End of the World by Kelly McWilliams. This book it actually came out in 2020, and it is set during a pandemic, which just happens to be, you know, obviously the author didn't know that, but it is a dystopian story dealing with this pandemic. This book, kind of reading the synopsis, reminds me a little bit of Blood Red Road, which came out around the time that Hunger Games came out, and I tried to read it but really never got into it, but I definitely remember that book because I picked it up before I ever really liked reading. So this book is kind of giving me those vibes a little bit, and I don't really know why. I think it might be the setting that it's describing. It also happens to be giving me Supernatural vibes a little bit, probably because my boyfriend and I have been watching Supernatural, but it deals with prophets and everything, so like that kind of, you know, that sort of thing makes me think of Supernatural a little bit. But it's supposed to be a genre-defying novel with survival and faith, so I'm very interested in it. I feel like it's going to be different than anything I've read before, so I'm into that. Next up is Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. Erin A. Craig is the author of, I can never think of its name, The House of Salt and Sorrows, which is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling that I read last year. That was more on like the horror side of things. I'm not sure if this one is similar in that way. I know it does have those creepy vibes, and someone told me it was a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, which is exciting, but I was so surprised with how much I enjoyed her first book that when I saw she had another one coming out, I was like, I need it. Also, oh my god, look at these end papers with the bees and everything in the honeycomb. I love that. But it deals with a character who her family, like, she's actually a beekeeper, which is amazing. It's set in this town where there's these woods surrounding it, and there's all sorts of different creatures in there. I feel like that's something I've definitely like heard about before, but now things have started to get weird again. But I'm not like mad at the fact that it's something that I have read similar things to it. I feel like she could have a really interesting take on that. Next is The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. So I've tried to read this book a couple of times and it just never has worked out for me, and I don't really know why. I think that while I am playing Sims, I might actually start listening to this audiobook. I feel like that seems like a good plan, because when I'm like clothing the Sims or making them or like furnishing the houses and everything, I like to listen to audiobooks. It's a great time. So I feel like I can squeeze this one in there for sure. But this is a time traveling story, and it's beginning in New York, and there's this book. It deals with magic, but also time travel. Like, there's a lot going on in it. I know Hannah really enjoyed this book because I had unhauled it, and then I actually ended up repurchasing it because she enjoyed it so much. So Hopefully that was a good decision. Next is Wicked Like a Wildfire by Lana Popovich. So this is kind of like a contemporary fantasy sort of blend, and I don't think it really has a mysterious element to it at all, but it kind of gives me a little bit of creepy vibes, like a little bit of weird vibes. It deals with twin sisters and everything, and I honestly have had this book for years and years and years, and I just have kept it because the cover is so stunning. I'm obsessed with it. But I think it does kind of have witchy vibes to it, which is why I have been intrigued by it, and I just would very much like to read it, so then I know that I haven't kept it for all these years for no reason. And finally is Vampires, Hearts, and Other Dead Things by Margie Fuston. Fuston? I'm not entirely sure, but this book was actually in my last book haul. It was sent to me, and I think it seems like a really interesting read. It's definitely blending contemporary and paranormal in a very different way. So it's about a character who her father is dying and they need to go and find a vampire in order to save him. So I don't know what to make of that. That seems really cool and definitely perfect for around this time of year. Okay, so those are all the books that I am hoping to read in September. There wasn't any contemporary on here, but I'm trying to kind of veer away from that. I've read a lot of contemporary recently, so I would like to try and get to some of the other books that I have, but if like need be, I will go back to contemporary. I'm not gonna force myself to read anything. I just want to try and dip my toe in the water and see how that works out. And please do let me know if you've read any of these books, your thoughts on them, and I will see you guys in a new video soon. Bye!